What if you had $10,000 to spend on your music career? How would you spend it? It's interesting how there's a lot of speculation out there about how a musician or independent label owner might spend a large amount of money to grow their business or career. And the reason I know people are talking about this is because I've done my research. At Music Entrepreneur HQ, we want to remain in sync with you, our audience, such that we are actively creating content that you find valuable. So let me share some thoughts on all this what if thinking and how you can use it to benefit your career or business. The dangers of dealing in hypotheticals. As I've shared with my mastermind group, I don't deal in hypotheticals. A hypothetical for me refers to anything that hasn't happened. It does not refer to reality. Reality deals with something that is happening out in the world where we're all living and occupying space. Something most people don't understand is that our minds are distinct from reality too, because the things we're thinking about often aren't occurring right here and now. Thinking isn't real, because the only person who can detect thinking is you. You cannot detect the thinking of others. This is something I learned from a counselor many years ago. When I walked in his room, he told me up front, I believe the best way to deal with your past is to not deal with the past and instead deal with the present. Although I believe it's important to free yourself from the stories and interpretation of the past, my counselor was right. Dealing with the present was far more beneficial to me than trying to deal with what had already happened and could do nothing about. Dealing with reality, what is so? I'm not saying it can't be fun to think about how you'd spend $10,000, $100,000, or even $1 million if you had it. You could potentially do a lot with that money. I say potentially because most people aren't great at managing their money, so even if they had a big surplus, it would be easy to waste it. Instead of dealing in hypotheticals, I believe it's important to deal in what is so. When we deal with what is so, we can gain a firm grasp on precisely where we are and where we want to be. We can go to work on closing that gap and be intentional about the steps we need to take to get there. We can ask for feedback from our friends, family members, coaches, and others and receive useful tips and advice. So I'm sure you can tell why I tell my students that I don't deal in hypotheticals. I can help them based on where they are, but I can't help them based on where things might go. Making backup plans? You're wasting energy. There are so many articles, books, podcasts, and other resources out there telling you that you should always have a backup plan. This is because they like to deal in hypotheticals. They're thinking about what-if scenarios. If X doesn't work out, I'll try Y. It's a waste of energy. Dealing with the present powerfully is the most important thing you can do. You cannot deal with the present powerfully if you're always thinking about what could be, should be, would be, and so on. If that's what you're thinking about, you're in the world of pretend, and if you stay there, you can't see what's in front of you. Next time you catch yourself slipping into what-if thinking, remember that it's just your mind trying to escape reality. There is no need to escape reality, and the less you try to escape, the more present you will be. The more present you are, the more powerfully you can deal with the present. Ultimately, the more present you are, the more you'll be able to enjoy life too.